The woman stood alone in the wind, her back bent against the storm, hands raw and bleeding as she dragged a timber beam twice her weight across frozen ground. Snow came sideways, sharp as glass. The shelter behind her, if you could call it that, shuddered with each gust. Scrap wood. Bent nails. Desperation holding it together more than carpentry. She didn't cry out. Didn't stop. Just kept pulling. A quarter-mile up the ridge, Eli Mercer sat his horse and watched. He'd spotted her 3 weeks back, moving on to the abandoned claim near Crow's Bend. No wagon. No livestock. Just her and whatever she could carry. The kind of foolishness that got people killed out here, but it wasn't his concern. The frontier had one golden rule: mind your land, your business, and let others do the same. Still, he found himself riding this route more often than necessary. The wind screamed. A wall of her shelter buckled inward. She threw herself against it, shoulder braced, boots sliding in mud. For a moment she held it. Then the wind hit harder and knocked her flat into the snow. Eli's hand tightened on the reins. She got up. Slower this time. Limping. She picked up the timber again. He turned his horse toward home. The sun was dropping fast, bleeding orange through the black clouds. His ranch lay 2 miles west, solid barn, weathertight house, fence lines that didn't sag. Everything he'd built with Sarah before the sickness came. 3 winters ago she'd started coughing. By spring, she was gone. He'd held her hands while her lungs filled with blood and there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. He still kept her garden tools oiled. Still left the lamp burning in the window. The woman down in the ravine wasn't his problem. Halfway home, Eli stopped. His horse stamped, confused. The wind tore at his coat. Snow was coming heavier now, the kind that buried tracks and froze livestock where they stood. He looked back toward that failing shelter, then forward toward his warm barn. Inside that barn, stacked against the north wall, lay 20 planks of milled pine. Straight. Dry. Seasoned 2 summers. He'd cut them the year Sarah got sick, planning to build her a sitting room where the sunlight came in sweetly through the afternoon. A place she could rest when the work got hard. She never saw it finished. He'd kept the lumber covered. Waiting. For what, he couldn't say. Eli sat there in the failing light, snow gathering on his shoulders, jaw tight. The smart thing was to ride home. Keep his head down. Keep his distance. A lone woman on unclaimed land invited talk, and talk turned cruel when winter came. The town had already buried 2 men for impropriety last year, one a schoolteacher, one a drifter. Neither had done anything worse than kindness, but kindness looked like sin when people were scared and bored. The wind shifted. He heard timber crack in the distance. Damn it, Eli muttered. He turned his horse back toward the ranch, but not toward rest. He rode hard, dismounted at the barn, and started loading lumber. His back screamed. His fingers went numb. Each plank felt heavier than the last, the weight of choice settling into his bones. No charity. No favors. Just work that needed doing. By the time he'd lashed the lumber to his packhorse, full dark had come. The storm was a living thing now, howling, hungry, indifferent. Eli pulled his hat low and rode back into it, toward a woman he didn't know, carrying wood meant for a ghost. The shelter was worse up close. One wall had collapsed entirely, canvas and timber tangled like broken ribs. The woman knelt in the wreckage, trying to salvage nails from splintered boards, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the hammer. She heard the horse and spun, rising fast. Her hand found the hammer's handle, knuckles white. Fear made her eyes hard. Eli stopped 20 feet out and raised both hands, palms open. "Easy," he said. His voice barely carried over the wind. "Not here for trouble." She didn't lower the hammer. "Then keep riding." The storm's getting worse. Your shelter won't last the night. It'll hold. It won't. He nodded toward the lumber tied to his packhorse. Brought materials. Do you want help or not? Her jaw worked. Pride and cold warred across her face. I don't take charity. Good. I don't give it. Eli swung down from his horse, moving slow, deliberately. This is work. You pull your weight, we build something that stands. Come morning, I ride out. That's the deal. She studied him the way a trapped animal studies a caged door, looking for the trick, the catch, the cruelty hiding behind kindness. Whatever she saw made her nod once, sharp. All right. They worked. No introductions. No small talk. Just wind and timber and frozen fingers. Eli showed her where to brace while he sledged the first corner post into half-frozen ground. She held without flinching, even when the vibration rattled up through her arms. When he needed a second beam lifted, she was already moving, anticipating. The woman knew her way around tools. Her cuts were clean. Her angles square. This wasn't her first build, just her most desperate. Snow fell heavier. The wind came in waves that staggered them both. Eli's old injury, a shoulder broken years back breaking horses, started grinding bone on bone. He gritted his teeth and kept swinging. They raised the first wall as a full dark hit. The second fought them. A crossbeam slipped just as Eli reached for it, and the raw edge tore across his palm, peeling skin back to meat. Blood welled up hot, then went cold. He hissed through his teeth. The woman turned. Saw. She pulled a strip of cloth from her own sleeve without a word and wrapped his hand tight, her touch quick and efficient. No pity. No fussing. Just fixing what was broken so the work could continue. Thank you, Eli said. She met his eyes briefly. Nodded. Got back to work. They built through the worst of it. The storm pounded them, tried to pry boards loose, and tried to knock them down. Eli's wrapped hand throbbed with every grip. The woman's breath came in ragged gasps, exhaustion etched deep. But the walls rose. The roof beams locked. By the time they nailed down the last corner brace, Eli's legs were shaking and his vision had gone soft at the edges. The woman stepped back, swaying. The shelter stood. Rough. Ugly. But solid. She looked at it for a long moment, then at him. Thank you, she said. Just once. Quiet. The weight of it was immense. Eli nodded, too tired for words. He gathered his tools, checked the horse. The storm was easing now, wind dropping to a bitter moan. He could make it home if he left now. He turned to go, then stopped. Reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a bundle, dried meat, hardtack, a small sack of cornmeal. He set it by the door without ceremony. Winter's long, was all he said. Then he rode into the dark, hand throbbing, exhaustion singing in his bones, wondering what exactly he'd just started. 3 days passed before Eli returned. He told himself it was a coincidence, checking fence lines, surveying winter grazing. But his route bent toward that ravine like water finding a crack. When he crested the ridge, he saw smoke rising thin and steady from the shelter's chimney pipe. It stood. The walls held true. Snow had piled against the north side but the structure hadn't shifted. Something in his chest loosened. He rode down. The woman was outside, splitting kindling with an axe too big for her frame. She saw him coming and straightened, wary but not afraid. Progress. Eli dismounted, pulled a bundle from his pack. Tar paper. A box of nails. A small tin of linseed oil for the wood. The roof could use sealing before the next storm, he said. She looked at the supplies, then at him. What do you want? Nothing. Everyone wants something. Eli considered that. Fair point. Maybe I just want to see good work last. She almost smiled. Almost. You want coffee? It's weak, but it's hot. They sat on stumps near her fire, tin cups warming frozen fingers. She didn't offer a name and he didn't ask. Some things revealed themselves in time, or didn't. That was fine. You know, building, Eli said. It wasn't a question. My father was a carpenter. Philadelphia. Before the war. She stared into her cup. He taught me to measure twice and cut once. To respect the wood. Good lesson. Didn't teach me how to survive out here, though. Her voice carried no self-pity, just observation. Didn't teach me that people would rather see you fail than succeed if you don't fit their idea of proper. Eli nodded slowly. He knew that truth. Had seen it play out in hanging trees and burned homesteads, all in the name of order and righteousness. Why here? He asked. Why alone? She was quiet so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, because alone is safer than the alternative I left behind. He heard volumes in what she didn't say. The bruises that had faded. The fear that hadn't. Fair enough, Eli said. They worked through the afternoon. Sealed the roof. Reinforced the door frame. She matched him task for task, never slowing, never complaining. When the light started failing, Eli made a decision that surprised him. I've got work coming, he said, coiling rope. Calving season. Fence repair. More than I can manage alone. Are you interested in paid labor? She went still. Paid. $1 a day. Meals included. Bunkhouse if you want it, or ride back here at night. Your choice. Why? Because I need the help. Because you can work. Because winter's coming and we both know that shelter won't stay warm enough when the real cold hits. He met her eyes. No favors. No obligations. Just honest work for honest pay. She searched his face like she was reading a contract for hidden clauses. Whatever test she was running, he must have passed. I'll think about it, she said. Fair. 2 days later, she appeared at his ranch as dawn broke. Bedroll over her shoulder, that same wary determination in her eyes. $1 a day, she said. I work full hours. No special treatment. Agreed. And if the town talks? Let them talk. She nodded once and followed him to the barn. The ranch had been silent so long that even the sound of 2 sets of boots on wooden planks felt like music. Eli showed her the cattle, the feed schedule, the tools, and where they hung. She listened, asked smart questions, and got to work. By evening, something had shifted. The house felt less like a tomb. The lamp in the window burned for someone who might actually see it. It felt dangerous. It felt right. And Eli knew the town would notice soon enough. The work settled into rhythm. She arrived each morning before first light, boots crunching through frost. They moved cattle to winter pasture, mended fences the snow had damaged, hauled feed through mud that sucked at their heels. The labor was hard and honest, the kind that left them too tired for unnecessary words. But words came anyway, in fragments. Her name was Anna. She'd been married once, a fact she stated flat and cold, like reporting a death. Which, in a way, it was. The man she'd left behind in Kansas had fists quicker than his Bible verses. When he broke her arm the second time, she'd waited for it to heal, then disappeared one night with nothing but what she could carry. The judge said a wife's place was beside her husband, she said one evening, mucking stalls. Even when that husband put her beside death. Eli drove his pitchfork into hay, anger coiling tight. The judge was a damn fool. Judge was the law. Then the law's broken. She looked at him with something like gratitude, then went back to work. Eli told her about Sarah in small pieces. How they'd met at a church social, how she'd laughed at his clumsy dancing. How the sickness came slow, then fast. How he'd promised her that room full of sunlight and never delivered. You loved her, Anna said. Not a question. I did. That's more than most get. They let the silence hold that truth. The ranch responded to 2 sets of hands. Calves born weak grew strong. The milk cow's yield increased. Eli repaired the bunkhouse stove so Anna could sleep warm. She patched his work shirts without being asked, her stitches small and precise. Meals became routine. He cooked simply, beans, cornbread, meat when they had it. She never complained, just ate and helped clean. Sometimes they talked. Often they didn't. The quiet between them felt comfortable, like old wood settling into its joints. One night, after a brutal day birthing a breech calf, Anna sat by the fire rubbing her arms. Her sleeves had written up, revealing old scars, finger-shaped bruises faded to yellow-green, a burn mark shaped like a brand. She saw him notice and pulled her sleeves down quickly. I'm not fragile, she said, defensive. Didn't say you were. People see scars and think broken. Eli poked the fire, considering his words. I see scars and think of survivors. There's a difference. Something in her posture softened. She didn't smile, Anna rarely smiled, but her shoulders dropped an inch. You're a strange man, Eli Mercer. Been called worse. The town began to notice around the 3rd week. Mrs. Henderson saw them riding the property line together. Told Mrs. Walsh at the mercantile. Walsh told her husband, who told the banker, who told everyone who'd listened that Eli Mercer was keeping a woman of questionable character on his ranch. The talk spread like sickness. Eli heard it first at the feed store. The owner, a man named Gibbs who'd borrowed money twice and paid back late both times, made a comment about proper Christian conduct loud enough to carry. Eli bought his grain and left without responding. Arguing would only feed it. But the talk grew teeth. The pastor mentioned moral clarity in his Sunday sermon, eyes drifting toward Eli's usual pew. 3 women who'd once brought Sarah soup when she was sick crossed the street to avoid him. The blacksmith, who'd shown Eli's horses for years, suddenly had a waiting list. Anna noticed the change when she came to town for supplies. The store went quiet when she entered. Women whispered behind their hands. Men stared with expressions that ranged from curiosity to disgust. The clerk refused to serve her until another customer left. She bought what she needed and walked out with her head high, but Eli saw her hands shake as she loaded the wagon. Maybe I should go, she said quietly on the ride home. No, Eli said. Maybe they should learn to mind their own business. But he knew it wouldn't be that simple. It never was. The banker came on a Thursday. Eli was in the barn sharpening tools when he heard the horse. He looked up to see Charles Whitmore dismounting, an immaculate suit already collecting dust, an expression carved from granite. Mercer, Whitmore said. No greeting. No warmth. Whitmore. Eli set down the whetstone and stood. Something I can do for you? Actually, yes. The banker pulled an envelope from his coat. Your loan comes due in March. I wanted to discuss terms. Terms are already set. I've never missed a payment. True. But circumstances change. Whitmore's eyes drifted toward the house, where Anna was hanging laundry. A man's reputation affects his credit. The bank has standards to maintain. Eli felt his jaw tighten. My reputation's solid. Is it? Whitmore stepped closer, voice dropping. The whole town's talking, Mercer. A widow and an unmarried woman, living on the same property. You know how that looks. It looks like a rancher hired help for calving season. It looks immoral. Whitmore's tone hardened. The bank directors are concerned. They're questioning whether a man of poor judgment is fit to hold a loan of this size. There it was. The threat wrapped in banker's language. I pay on time, Eli said slowly. My ranch is profitable. My credit's good. What I do on my own land is my business. Not when the bank holds the note. Whitmore tapped the envelope against his palm. Think carefully, Mercer. Send the woman away, or we'll be forced to call in the full amount. $300. Due immediately. $300 he didn't have liquid. The banker knew it. You're extorting me. I'm protecting the bank's interests. Whitmore smiled, cold and thin. You have until Monday to decide. Good day. He rode off, leaving Eli standing in the barn doorway, fury and helplessness warring in his chest. Anna appeared beside him, a laundry basket on her hip. She'd heard enough. I'll leave, she said quietly. Tonight if you need. No. Eli, he'll take your ranch. Let him try. But even as he said it, Eli knew the truth. Whitmore had power. The bank had leverage. And men like him always won when the rules were written in their favor. That night, Eli barely slept. He sat at the kitchen table, running numbers, looking for options that didn't exist. Sarah's jewelry, already sold to pay doctor bills. Livestock, needed for breeding. The land itself, mortgaged to the hilt. Every path led to the same place, lose Anna or lose everything. He thought about Sarah. About the promises he'd made and broken. About building a room full of sunlight that never got used. About all the times he'd followed rules, done what was proper, and still ended up alone with empty hands. At dawn, he made his decision. I'm not asking you to leave, he told Anna over coffee. But Whitmore won't stop. He'll bring pressure. Maybe worse. What's worse? The kind that involves men who get paid to enforce other people's morality. Anna set down her cup, face pale but steady. I've dealt with violent men before. Not 10 of them at once. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, what will you do? Talk to them. Show them the numbers. Make them understand that this benefits everyone. He rubbed his face, exhaustion making his thoughts sluggish. If they're reasonable men. They're not reasonable. They're scared. Anna met his eyes. Scared people don't listen. They just hurt things until they feel safe again. She was right. He knew she was right. But what choice did they have? 2 days later, on the road back from checking the north pasture, Eli found them waiting. 10 men on horseback, spread across the path like a wall. He recognized most, ranch hands, shop owners, one deputy. Men he'd known for years. Their faces were hard, hands resting near belts where pistols hung. The deputy spoke first. Time to have a conversation, Mercer. Eli's hand didn't move toward his gun. Instead, he stopped his horse and waited, heart hammering, mind already working through angles that didn't involve bloodshed. Because if he drew, they'd all die. Including him. And Anna would be alone again. Eli sat on his horse and counted heartbeats. 10 men. All armed. The smart play was submission, apologize, promise to send Anna away, keep breathing. The right play was harder. Gentlemen, he said, keeping his voice level. Blocking a man's road is poor manners. The deputy, a thick-necked man named Carson, shifted in his saddle. So is harboring a woman of ill repute. Anna works for wages. Same as any ranch hand. What do you call it? This from Gibbs, the feed store owner. Nervous energy made his horse dance. The whole town knows what's happening out there. The whole town knows speculation, Eli said. Not facts. Facts are you got an unmarried woman living on your property, Carson said. Facts are indecent. Eli let the silence stretch. Let them sit in the cold while he thought. These men weren't killers, they were enforcers of comfort, of the way things should be. Fear motivated them more than malice. He could use that. Carson, Eli said slowly. You still owe me for that heifer I sold you last spring? The one that survived when yours didn't? The deputy's face darkened. That's paid. Half paid. You're carrying $60 in credit. Eli turned to another man. Jenkins, your fence line crosses my water access. I let it stand because neighbors help neighbors. He looked at Gibbs. And you, how many times have I extended credit when your shelves were empty and my livestock needed feed? The men shifted. Horses stamped. This ain't about debts, Gibbs said, but his voice had lost conviction. No. Then what's it about? Eli leaned forward, letting his wrapped hand, still healing, still visible, rest on the saddle horn. Is it about you being afraid that if I break the rules, maybe others will too? Maybe your wives might start asking why they can't own property? Why can't they work for wages? That's different. Is it? Or are you just scared of change? Eli's voice stayed calm, surgical. I'm not asking you to approve. I'm asking you to think. Anna works. She earns. Come spring, my calving survival rate will be 20% higher because I had the help when I needed it. That means more beef. More beef means lower prices. Lower prices help everyone in this valley. Pretty words, Carson said. Doesn't make it right. Right according to who? The banker who's trying to foreclose on my ranch for his own gain. Eli looked at each man in turn. Whitmore doesn't care about morality. He cares about control. You're doing his work for him, and when I lose my land, whose ranch do you think he'll target next? That landed. He saw it in the way they glanced at each other. I'm one man, Eli continued, voice hardening. You're 10. You want to force me? You can try. Some of you will make it home. Some won't. All of you will have to explain to your families why you started a blood feud over a woman earning honest wages. He paused. Or you can ride away. Let me handle my business. Let winter sort out who was right. The wind cut across the road. Horses huffed steam. The men looked at each other, the certainty they'd ridden in with now muddied by doubt. Jenkins spoke first, voice uncertain. You swear nothing improper's happening? I swear Anna's been treated with nothing but respect. She works, she's paid, and when spring comes, she'll decide her own future. That's all. More silence. Eli's heart hammered, but he kept his face stone. Finally, Carson spat into the dirt. This ain't over, Mercer. Maybe not. But it's over for today. One by one, the men turned their horses. Some looked relieved. Others are angry. But they rode away, the wall breaking into individuals who suddenly looked smaller, colder, less certain of their cause. Eli waited until they were gone before letting his hands shake. Eli didn't ride straight home. His hands trembled too badly to hold the reins steady, and his legs felt like water. He stopped at the creek, dismounted, and sat on a frozen log until his breathing returned to normal. He'd gambled. He'd won. But the cost of that gamble settled into his bones like winter cold. If he'd been wrong about those men, if even one had drawn, Anna would have found him bleeding in the road. When he finally made it back to the ranch, she was waiting on the porch, rifle across her lap. They came, she said. Not a question. They left. For now. She set the rifle aside, but her hands stayed tight. What did you say to them? Eli told her. All of it. The debts, the logic, the appeal to self-interest rather than morality. When he finished, Anna was quiet for a long moment. You risked everything, she said finally. For me. For what's right. Most men don't know the difference. Her voice carried something fragile, something that might have been hope if hope hadn't been beaten out of her years ago. "Thank you." Eli nodded, too tired for words. But the town wasn't finished. 3 days later, the pastor announced a special town meeting. Mandatory attendance. Subject: community standards and moral leadership. Eli knew what that meant. The meeting hall was packed, every rancher, merchant, and housewife crammed onto wooden benches. The air smelled of wet wool and righteous anger. Eli took a seat near the back. Anna had wanted to come, but he'd insisted she stay at the ranch. Some battles needed fighting alone. Pastor Green stood at the podium, Bible in hand, expression grave. "We gather today to address a matter of spiritual concern," he began. "Our community was founded on Christian values. Hard work. Family. Decency." His eyes found Eli. "But there are those among us who threaten these foundations." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "A man and a woman, unmarried, living in close quarters, this invites sin. Invites scandal. Invites God's judgment upon us all." Eli felt every eye turn toward him. He stood slowly. "May I speak, Pastor?" Green's jaw tightened. "This is not a debate." "Then make it one." Eli stepped into the aisle. "Because if we're going to discuss my life, I should at least be allowed to defend it." Silence. Then the mayor, a pragmatic man named Holloway, nodded. "Let him speak." Eli walked to the front, aware of every stare, every whispered judgment. His wrapped hand throbbed. His shoulder ached. But his voice came out steady. "I'm not here to argue scripture with the pastor. I'm here to talk about facts." He turned to face the crowd. "Anna works on my ranch. She mends fences, delivers calves, and hauls feed. She works harder than most men I've hired and complains less. I pay her $1 a day, same wage I'd pay any hand." "That's not the point," someone called out. "Then what is the point?" "That she's a woman. That she's unmarried." Eli's voice grew harder. "Half of you employ Chinese laborers. 3 families here have Irish servants. Nobody questions their morality when they live on your property. They're not women alone with men," Mrs. Henderson said primly. "No. They're just people you consider beneath you." Eli let that hang. "Anna escaped a man who beat her. She came here with nothing and built a shelter with her own hands. She's asked for nothing except the chance to work and survive. If that offends your sense of decency, maybe your decency needs examining." The room erupted. Shouts of agreement. Shouts of outrage. Pastor Green slammed his hand on the podium. "Order. We will have order." The mayor stood. "Mercer raises a point. The woman has broken no law. If she's employed legitimately." "Legitimacy doesn't erase impropriety," Green interrupted. "And impropriety doesn't erase humanity," Eli shot back. "I'm not asking for approval. I'm asking for you to leave us alone to do our work. When winter ends, judge us by results, not rumors." Holloway looked around the room, gauging sentiment. The crowd was divided, some nodding, others scowling. "We'll put it to a vote," the mayor said. The vote was closer than it should have been. 32 to 28. Permission granted for Anna to remain employed through winter, provided Eli submitted monthly reports to the town council proving proper conduct. It was a leash disguised as acceptance. But it was enough. Eli walked out of that meeting hall with his dignity intact and his future uncertain. Men who'd voted against him wouldn't meet his eyes. Women who'd voted for him offered tight smiles, sympathy, not friendship. He rode home through the dark that felt heavier than it should. Anna was waiting in the barn, mucking stalls by lamplight. She looked up when he entered, reading the answer in his face before he spoke. "They let you stay," he said. "With conditions." What kind of conditions? Monthly reports. Inspections, probably. They'll be watching. She set down her pitchfork and leaned against the stall door, exhaustion written in every line of her body. You didn't have to do this. I know. You could lose everything. I know that too. Eli hung his coat on a nail, choosing his next words carefully. But I already lost everything once. Watching you freeze or starve, that would be losing it again, just slower. Something shifted in Anna's expression. Not quite a smile, but close. You're a fool, Eli Mercer. Been called worse. Winter deepened. The cold came hard and mean, the kind that killed livestock and froze wells solid. But the ranch held. Anna proved her worth 10 times over, pulling a breech calf at midnight, reinforcing the chicken coop before a blizzard, spotting a fence break that would have lost half the herd. They worked in tandem, anticipating each other's needs without speaking. When Eli's shoulder seized up from old injury, Anna took the heavy lifting without comment. When she caught fever from exposure, he made her rest while he handled both their duties, ignoring her protests. The town watched. The council sent an inspector in February, a nervous clerk who checked the bunkhouse, interviewed them separately, and left looking disappointed that he'd found nothing scandalous. Meals became rituals. Eli cooked, Anna cleaned, and they sat by the fire trading stories. She told him about Philadelphia, about learning to read by candlelight, about her father's hands shaping wood into beauty. He told her about breaking his first horse, about Sarah's laugh, about the room he'd never finished. You could finish it now, Anna said one evening. The lumber's still good. Wouldn't be the same. No, she agreed. But it could be something new. Spring arrived slowly, reluctantly. The snow melted in patches. Calves born in February grew strong. The garden plot thawed enough to turn. On the first warm day, Eli and Anna stood on the porch watching the sun paint the mountains gold. The ranch looked alive, fences straight, barns sturdy, fields ready for planting. Winter's over, Anna said quietly. It is. Our agreement was through winter. Eli's chest tightened. It was. She turned to face him, something vulnerable in her eyes. I could stay. If you wanted. Not as charity. She hesitated. As whatever this is. He looked at her, this woman who'd arrived broken and left whole, who'd stood beside him when standing was dangerous, who'd made his ghost-filled house feel like a home again. I'd like that, he said. No promises about tomorrow. No grand declarations. Just two people who'd survived winter together, choosing to face spring the same way. Down in the ravine, her old shelter still stood, weathered but solid. A testament to stubborn survival. Up on the ranch, the lamp burned in the window. And for the first time in 3 years, Eli Mercer let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, broken things could be mended after all. Not erased. Not forgotten. Just built into something stronger. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the Wild West. Drop a comment below telling us what you think. Would you have made the same choice Eli did? Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.